you are defying the status quo, that means you're changing what the future of the sport looks like. You're changing the business of golf. So, what does
Absolutely.
that next chapter of Renegade Golf look like for 2025 and beyond to you?
Absolutely. I mean, for us, I want to bring more companies along the ride with us. When we start looking at the ecosystem that exists and looking what a Cushnet and Callaway brands that I have a lot of reference for. I'm not
Mhm.
speaking negatively about them at all.
Right, for
They've
sure.
built a lot of complementary products that have helped to make their name even more increase. And Callaway with Top Golf was one way, a Cushnet with FootJoy, and having the different brands under a Cushnet, so now they can do shoes and bags and balls. So I'd love to start to build that within the Renegade ecosystem.
Mhm.
Right now, we do very light apparel, but it's not something that we spend a lot of time and energy on. And I
Right.
don't want to spend a lot of energy on that because there are other dynamic brands that do that can bring that to what we do, and we can both benefit each other.
Hmm.
Similarly, if we're talking about shoes, and maybe it's Eastside Golf, maybe it's another person that comes up, where we have shoes that we can offer that are, from us. So I think that's where I envisioned a lot of things going this year is really, really meaningful partnerships, working on some now where we can start to find some collaborations and to build up an ecosystem that we can benefit each other across the way.
I don't think Issa Rae knew what she was doing when she told us, or when she did an interview and she said, it's okay to network laterally. We're trying to network vertically and horizontally so much that we're missing the people that we can just reach across and just grab their hand instead of reaching up. And I
And
love
that
that
was
you said
probably
that.
one thing, like that was, and I've never said this live on camera, but so it's interesting. Like that was one thing, a lot of people reached out to me when Eastside did a drop with Bridgestone.
Hmm.
And when I thought about it a lot, that I think that concept you just mentioned is a big part of that. Like,
Hmm.
you know, there obviously is a lot of value to be driven from Eastside partying with the brand. It's a
For
multi-billion
sure.
dollar brand who's been in the golf space for a long time. I think there's additional value that could have been unlocked by Eastside and Renegade coming together and making a large, bold statement. I can't speak to the dollar value of that deal or speak to the motivation behind all that different stuff, but that question has been asked me a lot of times, and I don't really know exactly where everybody's motivation lies for that one, but
Right.
it's an interesting thought process you meant there where it is okay to work, horizontally versus vertically. And that was one example of that where I thought about it. I was like, man, like how do I feel where brands or tournaments or whatever they decide, hey, I'd rather get my balls from Titleist or from Callaway or from Bridgestone. I'm like, yeah, I guess that's fair and it makes sense in a lot of ways, but we have a lot of ability to make significantly more impact if we do decide to kind of do some of that networking horizontally. So
So let me ask you this. How can folks get involved, whether they're golfers, creatives, or just culture lovers? How can they get involved with Renegade Golf?
I think the biggest thing that we look for is just an introduction to your city. And when I think about places that we might have fans and customers and loyalists, it's hard to narrow it down. I just mentioned you that we're coming to the city of Memphis to start distribution of all their golf courses this year. We did the same thing with city of Detroit. We've also brought golf balls now into the city of Charlotte. Obviously, we're in Atlanta, so there's a lot of metro hubs that we've determined are logical launch pads for us. We're already in the city of Dallas, or at least in Cedar Crest, that is down in Dallas. We've identified these logical launch pads, but we might be missing some large opportunities and some launch pads in areas that actually really have a customer base that suits us and that or opportunity to grow the game there. And I think exposing us to that, sharing that with us and our team gives us an opportunity to be a step ahead of it, maybe close, further than we are right now. So if there's cities I didn't list there, we're like, hey, you probably have a good opportunity here. Let us know. And I think that gives us an opportunity not to do as much legwork on our end.
Man. So let me ask you this. Renegade's been featured in Forbes and on the Golf Channel. Are these moments that make you pause and like say, we really out here? Like, we really are doing essentially what we started out wanting to do.
I do wish that I had taken it, and any advice I'd ever give other entrepreneurs is to take more time celebrating and internalizing those moments as they happen.
Hmm.
I remember the first time watching, an interview, and we've done a couple interviews on Golf Channel at this point and features on their commercials, and never quite really like realized that this was what I prayed for and what I dreamed of probably,
Hmm.
years ago when we started, and here it is. My lifelong dream was to be a Forbes 30 under 30 CEO, and I was close. I really was probably a year away from having true consideration, but
Man.
being in Forbes was an honor and really was a validation of what we were doing. And I regret not taking more time to really internalize that. But I think what typically entrepreneurs feel is when the money's not coming, all that other stuff doesn't matter. So our
Nope.
sales weren't in a place necessarily where I felt that we had reached a place where I wanted us to be. So I think a lot of the other achievements, quote unquote, were sort of diminished and not really held in the same regard as when we hit our first six-figure year, when we reached our $250,000 threshold. Those things I remember a lot more. When we get $1 million, that feels good. But I do wish I had internalized those more, because those were things that I did want to celebrate. But we have some more coming up too. We have some really cool things coming up with some large national networks, with some huge magazines in the Atlanta area. So it's not over yet, and I think when I have those opportunities again, I'll be more cognizant to appreciate them in a moment.